悪霊退散.
There's a lot of interesting things that's happening right now in the community, and I just want to take a second and talk about all of these because wow. The first thing that I'll talk about, I've seen it on the Tekken subreddit. It says this is a pretty wild month after release. Do you think Tekken 8 will get the same reception? And this is basically a screenshot of the most watched categories on Twitch. And at the time of this screenshot, Street Fighter 6 is second. Just Chatting always dominates, always has first place, but second place is the one that kind of shifts and changes. And right now, Street Fighter 6, 150,000 viewers. This is truly massive. Now, we already know that Street Fighter 6 broke a lot of records when the game first came out, but this is kind of just another instance of its success. Kind of giving you guys a real understanding of how successful this game is. If you look all the way to the right of the screenshot, you see Diablo 4, which is a game that released around the same time as Street Fighter 6, and that only has 91,000 viewers. So that kind of gives you a comparison of how good, how successful Street Fighter 6 is doing, just like in terms of viewership, people playing the game, and also too, if I was to speculate a little bit on like how much profit they're making, I know they're making a killing off of, first off, people who bought the game, but then two, like the microtransactions. I do want to see if Tekken 8 take a lot of aspects from this and apply it to its own game. Would you guys be interested for or against Tekken 8 doing a battle pass? I don't know. I think the success of Street Fighter 6 is definitely something to keep an eye out for. Now, the next topic, this is kind of piggybacking off of the video that I did yesterday where I was talking about banned regions from the TWT. I'm so happy to see that the conversation is not dying. It's spreading far beyond just YouTube. You have a tweet here where basically someone is atting Harada, Michael Murray, and Markman. And Markman actually liked the tweet. And basically in this tweet, they say an offline tournament was just held in China, and basically they have a actual scene. You know, they actually play the game. They have a lot of new players showing up. I really would love to see like China and Russia and some of these places that are banned be able to participate in Tekken 8 and in that, because I'm not an expert, right? But I know that Japan and China and Russia, they have like serious like political issues, and that's probably what led to the ban. But I don't think like the people who are citizens of these regions should be like a victim of it. Like if you think about Pakistan and how their travel to the US was so difficult because of the political climate, they don't have the same sort of like opportunities that other players have. So I just was happy to see that Twitter people were talking about China, and then on Reddit people were talking about Russia. Now you do have this conversation of, will Dragunov be excluded from Tekken 8 because he's a Russian character? Same with Eliza. Now I don't think they'll take it that far because that's just like way overboard. I think having a character is totally different from like people traveling and whatnot. And while we're on the topic of different regions and parts of the world, I did a poll 23 hours ago, but it's now deleted. The question that I asked is, which continent would you like to see a new character represented in Tekken 8? And Africa dominated 47%, and it's actually made me very happy because I think we should get another character from that region. There's many parts of the world, Canada, South America, there's so many amazing parts of the world that hasn't been fully realized with a character yet. Australia, it is crazy that Australia, the only character they have is Roger and Marduk, right? I think something more can be done, and this poll was just trying to basically get the community's opinion. What do you guys think? And the reason why this poll is now deleted is because basically there was some negativity in the comment section. Now another thing, I talked about this in a separate video where I was reacting to Rip's Boom podcast. I want to emphasize this just a little bit more. Rip said for Tekken 8, they removed about half of Law's attacks, and the goal in doing so was to simplify the character. Now I looked at Law's moves. I have a screenshot here of all the character moves, and I do want to note that this screenshot is 5 years old, so this is before they added the new moves, wall bounce, all that stuff. So the number is a little bit lower. Maybe I would say 3 or 4 maybe moves is missing. For example, Claudio is 57 here. In Tekken 7 he's 64, 63. So the number is a little bit lower, but this still gives us a excellent representation of what a reduced move list could actually look like. For example, King has the most moves. I didn't even know this. 179 moves. If they were to, once again, quoting Rip, cut his move in half, that would still be like 80 moves. A lot of his moves do consist of like grabs and stuff like that, but that would be a lot cut out. And basically, I just wanted to ask you guys, how do you feel about this? I think, I'm a Yoshi main. Yoshimitsu has 162 moves. I do think there is some things for Yoshimitsu that they can remove. I get he's supposed to be this situational character who has an answer for everything, but over the course of the game, Yoshimitsu's moves become so worthless. I know he's kind of considered like this Swiss Army knife character, but now it's to the point where like, it's like if you have a Swiss Army knife and one of the tools is like a gum scraper. You scrape gum off the bottom of a dex. It's like, when will you ever realistically use that tool? I know Yoshimitsu have a lot of stuff like that, but I wouldn't be surprised if other characters also had stuff that probably could be removed and maybe even replaced. You remove 3, 4, 5 moves and you replace it with one really solid move that kind of embodies all of that. I think it's going to be very interesting. The beta is a couple of weeks away and we'll be able to see exactly what was removed, how much of it, and two, if it was good or not. Before we move on, I do want to just mention once again, a lot of people played the Tekken 8 alpha and they received feedback that it was good. So I think if this was a bad thing that they're removing stuff and simplifying stuff, it already would have been stated, because even if you go back to Rip's sort of discussion about it, he wasn't really saying it as a bad thing. He was on the side of they should simplify the games, and when he said they were removing half of the moves to simplify the character, it was kind of a positive thing. It wasn't really like doom and gloom and negativity, which I think that's very important to distinguish, to understand. Let me know down in the comments if you're for or against simplifying characters and removing move lists. The final thing that I want to talk about is a video that Eris put out. Tekken 8 needs 2 things to be playable on Steam. It's more than just netcode.
If it does not have these features, I will not play it. One of them is no custom costumes in ranked. At least you should give each player the ability to turn them off. And I told Michael Murray about this and he said, you're right. In your competitive tournaments, the Namco rule is that custom costumes are banned, yet they're allowed in the most competitive online mode. So it doesn't even follow your own fucking rules. He agreed.
These outfits are not allowed in tournaments. Some tournaments, yes, like if you look at the Korean events and Japanese events, you can see they play some online and they do use their actual events. But in the TWT, the official world tour, no custom outfits. So if you have this thing set in tournaments, it should also apply to the most competitive part of Tekken. After rank, the next step is the competitive scene. So those 2 things should kind of operate with the same rule. Another thing here, he said that he told Michael Murray about this and he agreed. The second thing that Eris talks about is pretty interesting as well, and I actually have a very good example of this. So let's first listen to Eris and then we'll listen to the example.
The other thing that I think personally, on a personal level, censoring your opponent's name, like that streamer mode that Street Fighter has. Without that, you can't have fun. You will be trolled. I can't have fun. So they have to put that in, or else I'm telling you now in advance so you're not surprised. If that shit's not in, I'm out.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I actually think that Tekken 7 added streamer mode in Tekken 7. But the example that I have here is XQC. This is one of the biggest streamers on the planet. He just got a over $100 million deal for Kick to stream on Kick. And this was his experience in Tekken 7.
If we're going to snipe with TOS pictures, I'm just going to call it the next game.
One thing that I always like to bring up too is the era that Tekken 7 released in. Tekken 7, when it came out, yes, Twitch and YouTube and content creators was a thing, but it wasn't as big and as loud as it is now. Over the course of Tekken 7's lifespan, the Twitch environment and brand has grown tremendously. Like if you look, once again, they're signing people to $100 million deals, 60 million, 70 million. Tekken 8 is definitely going to be tailored to this online environment, streaming, reacting. This is going to be a no-brainer. I just think Tekken 7 is definitely a product of its time, and no matter how much they try to change it or evolve it, it will still be a game that was made in 2014, 15, 16, 17. It can't truly be a 2023 era game, and that's the whole reason